Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Unfiltered Tea. How are you? How is everybody? We've gotten done with the trial, and the U.S. has just done a lot this week. Nothing very good. So we're going to go over some of that tonight. We are going to cover a few things. I'm going to have a very brief moment where I'm going to discuss my thoughts or lack thereof on the Diddy verdict. Um, and then we're going to look at pieces of this bill, and we are going to look at the Stephen Miller problem. I tried to keep myself pretty narrow this evening, but who knows where this conversation is going to go, because every time I start talking about it, I go on a tangent. But before we get started, because we are entering a different realm, it's easy when we're following a trial to have certain rules in place. It becomes much harder once we enter politics. Although I think we've just jumped the shark. We're beyond politics at this point. It's a different thing than what politics was when I was growing up. This is just different. That said, my just disclaimers here, my opinions are my opinions and my opinions alone. And I encourage debate and discussion. Here's the thing: debate and discussion has to be done with respect, without name calling. And in this community, facts are friends. If you are coming at me with opinions, they should be noted as opinions. And I will try and do the same. And call me out on it if I don't. Call me out on it if I have stated opinion as fact, because that's not how we need to do that. Facts are friends. So we can have discussion on these things, and it can be reasonable and all of that. What we can't do, and where discussion gets nowhere, is when everybody's just not listening and name calling. So bring kindness, bring compassion, bring respect, and bring verifiable facts. That's all I ask. I'm going to do the same. That's what we're doing here. So, first off, I am going to roll the intro. While I roll the intro, you know the drill. Tell me where you're coming in from, what you're sipping on this evening, or snacking on, or what you're doing while we are hanging out. I know if you're like me, I often am listening and doing like three other things in the background. So I'm curious. I'm curious. What's all that? What are we doing? And then let's have a chat. So first off, let's roll the intro and. Hello and welcome to The Unfiltered Tea, a show where we say all the things you wish the newscasters said, unscripted and unfiltered. We talk about politics, pop culture, and courts, so pull up your soapbox, pour yourself a cuppa, and let's go. Let's go. And yeah, I totally cut myself off. I do that. It's been a day like that. It is very warm here in Maine. We Mainers are not built for this. I do want to say a heartfelt, my thoughts are with Texas at this time. Um, I'm not going to go into that particular tragedy this evening. There's a lot happening with it. I have a lot of other thoughts on that. My heart is with them wherever you are, whatever crazy weather or fires or what have you are coming your way. Please stay safe. Have a plan, because that's going to be one of the key things for how we get through this. So we have my dad here coming in from downstairs with an ale from Rising Tide and maybe switching to a G&T. I myself have a G&T over here because yeah, tonight's discussion topics, I want a little gin to go along with it. Um and I have to share my coaster here, because given what we are talking about this evening, um, has anybody tried unplugging the country and plugging it back in? That's what my G&T is setting on at the moment. Okay, First off, do I have notes for this evening? Yes, I do. Am I also discombobulated? Of course I am. When have I ever bobulated? Combobulated. Not when it's this warm out. Um, First off, the Diddy verdict. So I've had a lot of people ask what my thoughts are on the Diddy verdict. Here's where I run into issues. And yes, this does kind of relate with our bigger topics tonight because there is the legality versus the morality. Do I think laws around all of the issues that Diddy was in court for need changes and adjustments? I do. I do not think that I back up. We know more now than we did when those laws were created. And I think we do need to look at those laws. And I think we need to really examine um, are the laws matching with what we now know with psychology of both victims and perpetrators and escalations and things like that. Without cameras in the courtroom and having to rely only on people who are in the courtroom and me not having enough time personally to suss out which reportings were accurate, and also with me not being able to double check it myself, unfortunately, my thoughts are this. I trust the jury system. Sometimes it gets it wrong, sometimes it doesn't, but I have to trust the jury system. And part of the fundamentals of our court of law, as it has always been up till this point, is that if we are going to get it wrong, we get it wrong to have a guilty person go free. Is that what happened here? I don't know. It's more complicated than that. I think we need more conversations. I think if Diddy deems this to be a slap on the wrist and no real consequences, I suspect, as much as I hate to say this, that escalations will happen, whether or not he gets indicted for new crimes or not down the road. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith that he won't crime again. So it's will we see new charges down the road for other things he's done? Things he was acquitted for, obviously, double jeopardy can't go after that. I understand the frustration. I absolutely understand the frustration, but um hmm, but I think we have other things that we need to be worrying about right now. And one of those things absolutely should be let's look at the laws. Let's look at what the jury instructions were. Let's look at what the instructions um any of the instructions were from the judge. Let's find out. When you have cameras in the courtroom, it becomes easier to accept verdicts when we can see with our own eyes what has gone on in that system or in that case. Because I don't know if the prosecution proved it or not. If they had the evidence and they presented it badly, that's on them. And I can't I'm in a situation where I can't have an opinion on that. I would like to have an opinion on that. I have opinions on the bigger thing as a whole, but as far as that particular verdict, I have to say I have to trust the jury system as much as I don't like it. And then I have to say that maybe we need to look at laws and see and look at our representatives and look at what laws got written when and who signed them into law when, and contact your local representatives, contact the people that make these laws if you don't like it, and write to them and tell them that you want change. That's how we fix the system. That's how we make it better. So that's where that is in a nutshell. I will try to get this time stamped for everybody. I don't know if I will succeed in that, but I'm going to try to get this time stamped for everybody. So with that, let me swoop, if I find the swoop, and then we will move on to our next thing. Before we get into, I see mom coming in with peach cold tea, um, because mom would not be able to have a gin and tonic and still not, and that's okay. Much appreciated here for that. So now that we got that little bit out of the way, now let us move on to the bigger stuff. So today is I there's a lot that went on this week. We had the bill that I can't call it the BBB. I can't call it the bug either. I HR1 is the actual bill. It is HR1. If you want to read it in its entirety, I have linked the I've linked the government website in the description of this video so that you can actually go read it, because at least for now, we can still read the actual laws. I highly encourage us all to do that. It is way too big for me to have gotten to all of it before coming into it tonight. But if you are flipping through it and see something that you want me to cover, let me know. Um, and as I go through it, I will also probably come back to it because there is so much in there, and it's a lot. We're going to feel the effects of it, and it's going to be bigger than we can imagine. Can I just pause for a minute, guys? 8 months ago, I did not have to know this much about constitutional law or any of that just to get through the day. And we're back to, oh, I feel like I need to take a constitutional law class just so I can keep up with the news cycle, which is very frustrating to me. But that's a different show. What we are dealing with. So I learned this morning, I'm sure I knew it at some point, but I found it interesting that this morning on CBS Sunday Morning, they had their little almanac thing. And today, apparently, in 1942, today is the anniversary of when Anne Frank and her family went into hiding. So if you've read that book, and you're on the side of Anne Frank, her family, and the people who hid them, hi, welcome. Welcome to us over here trying to figure out how to navigate history repeating itself. Um, oh, I like this. In regards to the bill, we could play a game. Everybody can pick a random number from 1 to 1,000. Go read that page and discover some of the hidden Easter eggs. I love this game. I love this game. Love it. Let us do this. Chat, let us do this. And then when we meet again, not next week, but the week after, because next week, family stuff. But when we meet again in 2 weeks, if not beforehand, let us do this. I'll put this in the comments, please. This is going to be okay, so I'm going to say this is going to be a fun game. Is what we're living through fun right now? Absolutely not. But you know what's going to get us through? Humor and taking care of each other. That's what's going to get us through. So, where we can have fun and get informed and make a game out of becoming educated, I am all for that, because if we are educated, that allows us to protect ourselves, our neighbors, our friends. Because, yeah, I fundamentally believe that all of us, as a general rule, want the same things for ourselves, our neighbors, our friends, our family. And we have differing ways on how to get there. But in moments like this, we gotta stick with each other. We gotta build that community and stick together so that we can get through this. So if we can have fun by doing this here. I will try and remember to pull this up again at the end of the stream. Let's do this, guys, because that will also, okay, neurospicy folks, right? Welcome the neurospicy over here. If I wanted to sit down and read this 1,000-page document, it would hurt my brain, and I would probably get bored and throw it across the room because it would make me really mad. If you are like me and like that, then let us do this, because this way none of us has to read the whole thing, and we can all educate each other. I'm here for it. I will even do extra streams for that with us to go through everything together. Yep, yep. Spread this on social. Let's get this out there. Let's play this game. I will, if you're good at clipping things, let's clip this. Let's roll. Let's ride, guys. I am here for that. So that brings me, I need my notes because I went down that rabbit hole, which is why I love doing this. I love having chat for that reason. And this is also why I do the show live, because it's just more fun that way. And so I wrote a whole bunch of notes about the Anne Frank thing, and then here we are in another moment where 30 years from now, kids in history classes are again going to be sitting there going, how could we let this happen? Why did America was the greatest country on the earth? It wasn't. My opinion, it wasn't. It's a great place, and we have one of the best, if not the best, founding documents to work from. What we haven't done is actually live up to that document's promise from day one. But there's always a group trying to get us to do that and trying to get us to do it better. And we are in another one of those moments where, are we going to keep that founding document, or are we going to let this authoritarian regime come in, take over everything? Um, it's tough because that is what we are looking at. I defer to the historians on that. I mean, okay, soapbox. Soapbox moment. We have had concentration camps in this country before. We've called them different names. And they haven't been quite this close to Stephen Miller's favorite playbook. But I mean, with all the pictures going up on social media of Auschwitz and the concentration camp in Florida, you know it's bad. You know the country is doing a bad thing when I look at those two pictures, and the beds in Auschwitz look more comfortable. It looks like you could actually turn that concentration camp into home, whereas it's slightly more modern down there in Florida, but it looks less, it looks worse. It looks worse to me. Maybe that's just me. But when I was looking at the two pictures side by side, I was like, if you asked me today to pick one of these to go to, I'm choosing the one that was built almost a century ago. And that is a weird place to be in, because if you don't know me, or even if you do, I studied World War II and the regime. I'm not saying the word because YouTube hates the word, and we're not doing that. We're not giving them that. But the European authoritarian regime over there, you know who I'm talking about. I came at my history lessons in a very unique way, where I played Hermann Goring's daughter in a play. And I was 12, 13, somewhere in there. While I was doing that play, what I was allowed to see was the propaganda that she was allowed to see. I only got her writings about her father and was only allowed to see the public things that she saw. I wasn't allowed to see any of the actual history or any of the things that Goering actually did until after the show. And then after the show, the director sat with me, my folks were there, and we debriefed on all of it. And so I had propaganda, what it is, and all of that. I can't think of the right word, really picked apart for me piece by piece with this amazing team of people, which allowed me to see it in a different way. Now, I am not always perfect, but it did allow me an opportunity to really understand how people could get there in a different way. And to know that somebody can be one of the most evil humans ever to walk the earth and still, at least in Goering's case, was still kind to the people he loved and cared about. It was a very odd dichotomy, but that is how I started learning about that particular time in history. And so when I got into school later, and we're doing the high school thing, and you get those questions, how did this happen? How did this happen? And I'm sitting in the corner going, well, it happened with propaganda. It happened because it's an easy story to grab onto. It doesn't make it right, but it is an easy story to grab onto, to latch onto and say, well, that'll solve all my problems. Um, and here we are again. The names have changed. The playbook is the same. I think I said the other day, Stephen Miller hasn't updated his playbook since about 1934. And that actually gives us on this side of things, the side that finds this appalling and bad, we have an advantage because we know that playbook. We know how it played out. Okay. So we can get a jump on that. We know where it's going, so we can start stopping it because the majority of us don't want this. But we do have the propaganda problem still here in this country. And that is why, for me, if you disagree with me, if you are a member of the MAGA group, um, I'm going to say this. If you're only watching Fox News and Newsmax and Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson, you're not getting a full picture. And it's the same with people on the left. Um, I and if you're just watching mainstream media, you're not getting the full picture either. I know a lot of us have diversified our sources. There's a ton of amazing reporters on Substack and YouTube. You have creators like Under the Desk News for quick sound bites and Phil DeFranco that are really, really wonderful and break things down in an easy to digest way. Love that. But the mainstream media, especially Fox News, Fox, I've viewed Fox as propaganda for a long time. Here's why. Technically, it is classified as an entertainment station. Even though there's news in the title, news is not required to go out over the airwaves. They are entertainment. So is CNN. So is MSNBC. And so it's easy to get people on board with what you're doing when you can just feed them cherry-picked things. When we have no baseline for verifiable facts, because we lost that. This is going to be a test of my history. I have Dad in the chat who I promise you will correct me if I am inaccurate. So Reagan was the one who got rid of the fairness doctrine. With getting rid of the fairness doctrine, Very short thing on the fairness doctrine, both sides. If you have an opinion, the opposite opinion has to get equal time. That is very rudimentary, and it's far more complicated than that. But the fairness doctrine was eliminated by Reagan, and then I can't remember if it was Reagan or Clinton that allowed stations like Fox News, the loud media conglomerates like Fox News, to launch as under the classification of entertainment. What that means is that they are not required by any form of law to disseminate facts. Again, MSNBC and CNN are also entertainment companies. So when they are classified as entertainment companies, and I'm putting all of them together for a reason. They are not required by law to deliver facts to their audience. Which leads me to why are people like me leaving all of those companies and finding people that are independent and are delivering on the facts, that can cite their sources and stuff like that. Because when you get somebody like Jim Acosta on Substack, his audience is watching him expecting facts. If he does not deliver that, his livelihood disappears. The big media conglomerates don't have that. They are beholden to the advertisers. They are beholden to the billionaire donors in government. That is their audience that they are beholden to. They are not beholden to the people. They don't care as long as they're getting that money coming in. And their money isn't always coming in based on the same clicks and views, right? It's just skewed. So, how did we get here and how did we get here so fast? Because about 30 years ago, facts just went out the window. Who needs them? Why are we watching news? A lot of news in the title, not a lot of news going out over the airwaves, and it's just gotten steadily worse and worse and worse. Yes. Yes. Dad says it is, in a sense, an absolutionist First Amendment free speech stance to leave it up to us, the viewer consumers, to determine who we trust. And to a degree, I absolutely agree with that. We all should have the right to say what we are saying. I am here doing this, feeling safe in doing this, and chatting with you guys right now because of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. He hasn't set it on fire yet, and I'm going to be here even after he does, because without people like me and the people that I watch to call truth to power when we can and when we see it, that is when democracy ends, and I'm not going to let that happen. The Constitution is a pretty spectacular document, and for all the issues that I have with the framers of it or history or things like that, I I've said this about a lot of people. Thomas Jefferson needed to read what he wrote a whole lot more than he did. Um they all did. They all did. Um but yeah, we are here in part because of that propaganda problem. Now, before we get too down in the dumps, here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this from the kids in my life that are, now just young adults. Um, I'm seeing this from my friends. I'm seeing this in family. We're all finding people like Heather Cox Richardson, who cites everything. And we're finding the reporters that we can trust. We're finding the people who say, here's the facts and here's the evidence. And we are staying informed. You wouldn't know that if you just turned on the I really didn't mean for tonight to just be a takedown of legacy media, but, I did say pull up your soapbox, and I'm on mine. But, um, we are w we are doing the work to find these other reputable sources, and the more we do that, the more we stay informed, and the more we can do what we need to do to protect ourselves, our neighbors, our friends, each other, because when we get through this, we are going to need that community. So, while I can have my soapbox, I'm here, baby. We are here together. We are going to get through this. I am going to swoop. I'm going to run the squirrel swoop because that was one heck of a soapbox I went up on. And then we're going to get to the Stephen Miller of it all because everybody forgets who he is. I don't know what sort of magic spell that man put on himself a while back, but everybody forgets who he is. Everybody forgets what he is doing. And right now, the short version of that is he's the guy running the country. So we're going to get a little bit into the Stephen Miller problem and why we need to be concerned about him. And I have been promising a deep dive on him at some point. I will do that, but timing. So, let me do the squirrel swoop cuz that was a whole sidetrack soapbox. Okay. So now we're getting to the Stephen Miller of it all. Who is Stephen Miller? Stephen Miller is that weird bald guy that is in literally almost every photograph of Trump in, near, around the White House. And he always has sort of a look on his face that looks like he just walked out of central casting for villains. Because he is one in real life, in my opinion. Why do I say this? Because there was an article I read years ago, and I have gone hunting for this article. If you find it, please send it to me. I have gone hunting for this frequently over the last few years, cannot find it. I don't know if it was from the internet or what, but in this, I remember reading that Stephen Miller said that one day he wanted to be the Hermann Goering of the United States. And he kind of is. Hermann Goering, for those of you who do not know, because I don't think I said it earlier, was he was the right-hand man. He was the one who came up with the most cruel of the cruel ideas in Germany in the late 30s and the 40s. He's the one who insisted when they put the showers in the camps that they have actual shower heads and that they hand everybody towels and bars of soap, and that they even have water running through them so that people would willingly go in. That was Hermann Goering. Um, Genius, evil, brilliant, evil. And Stephen Miller, in that article, said that he wanted to be that for the United States. Same views, same views, same supremacist idiocy, because it is idiocy. It's not based in science, like at all, ever. It's not. Um, and so, and what? How can he do this? Well, Trump. Let's be real. Trump thinks this is a different version of The Apprentice. Trump doesn't actually understand, I don't think, what reality is. For him, this is just another reality show. The people aren't real. It's all characters to him. And because it's all characters to him, he doesn't have empathy for anybody. He can't. Most normal people, when we see this, we automatically think of our friends, our neighbors, our favorite grocery store clerk. We automatically view them in these places, and we have empathy for that. And so we say, "Hey, my morals say this is very wrong." And my instinct says this is wrong, because I do think that humans are just naturally empathetic. I do. I think when you see kids that are very little, the empathy does tend to be a human default. I'm not saying everybody has it, but it does seem to be the default more than it's not. Um, and so for Trump, I don't honestly even know if he knows what's real or what's not anymore. I mean, this is all just a production to him. And with Miller, there's the ideology behind it. Miller's the guy who said, "Oh, Trump said to attack Yemen." And they did. Like, his word is, "Well, Trump said this." Whether or not Trump actually did, I don't think anybody but Miller knows. I'm not even sure that Trump always knows, because I don't think he's all there. Um, and Dad says the risk is the platforms in which we find our reputable sources are in the hands of the same oligarchs behind Project 2025 and all of that. We may relearn how to print underground papers. Absolutely. I mean, it's why I say we have an advantage, because Stephen Miller is operating on a playbook that was last updated maybe in 1940, maybe. Um, and I mean, we have social media now. He might have added that, but he hasn't done a whole lot of updating to it from what I can tell. I mean, look at the camp that opened this week, which, by the way, it's this country has done camps before. What I have never seen is this country opening a camp like this and advertising it like it's a freaking theme park. What? Take a breath, everybody. Take a breath. Do not throw the computer across the room. We're just I need to take a breath. We should all take a breath, cuz that if you feel like that was an insane thing and you're going, "Why am I watching this?" Congratulations, you are still tethered to reality. Welcome to the club. Let's hang on to each other, cuz we're going to need that. Um and so a lot of this, the camp, a lot of that bill is Miller is the guy behind it. Miller is the ideology behind all of that. So, and he's starting to come out of the shadows more and more and more. He is. I will do a deep dive into this Stephen Miller background and history at some point. Um, but right now, I think I'm trying to keep these short-ish, and I've already soapboxed a whole bunch. But when it comes to this bill, one of the biggest things that Miller put into this, whether it was him, whether it was his idea, whether it was brainstorming for, um, nope, I'm trying to think of a word that is name calling, but not name calling. Um, These fascists, because that's what they are. I mean, that's these authoritarian fascists. If you get very upset when I say that about this particular group of people, they can prove me wrong at any time. I would love that. I really would. But considering that we've opened a camp on this, and most of the conversation is like, "Oh, we've never opened camps before." Yes, we have. We have. We How much was it intended to kill everybody in the camp versus how much it wasn't is debatable. I mean, there was a time when the reservations first happened, they were camps. The difference was name. name. Attitude, totally the same. Difference, name. Um, let us not forget that in the 40s we had Japanese internment camps. Now those looked different than this. We've just leveled up the cruelty because this administration seems to thrive on cruelty, and that is coming from Stephen Miller and others. I mean, Elon Musk is another one who has talked about cruelty being the point in a lot of ways. I'm not sure he's the one who actually said that, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did or didn't. Um, he's, I mean, Elon Musk has said that empathy is a character flaw, which is no, no. No, that's not that's not how that works. Empathy is a life-saving thing. Empathy will get us through. Empathy will get us through the rough days. Empathy will get us through the best days. And we are in times that have happened on the regular once every couple of generations. I'm sorry to say. Humans are weird, and every so often we have this. What I can say is we have the numbers, we have the majority. Um, and I did look up in preparation for this, I did look up some knowing your rights things because one of the big things that is connected to Miller and his 1930s playbook and all of that is the expansion of ICE. We have never had an internal military force such as ICE on the level that it is about to be. We are already dealing with them kidnapping people off the street. At least now we have an idea of where some of them are going to end up, which is better than getting on a plane and going to God knows where. Not much better, but you can chains can break. Let's just say that. There can be some assistance in that particular way. Oh, my brain is buffering in real time. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Um, oh, Dad says Sudan most recently. Because I didn't hear that because there's just too much. There's too much. Um, what I will pausing because where do I get a lot of my ideas of where we are going from this and how did we get to where we are now? There is a book called A Woman of No Importance. I highly recommend you read it or listen to it. If you listen to it and you do not want to support Amazon anymore, might I recommend, not sponsored, Libro FM. You get to choose your local independent bookseller and they get a portion of that. So um, you can avoid Amazon altogether. But the story of A Woman of No Importance is the story of a woman by the name of Virginia Hall, who is one of the grandmothers of our United States and, well, United States and British intelligence special forces. She is one of the reasons that the Allies did win World War II. And I highly recommend reading that book because there's a lot that's very similar. So, with that, nope, I've looked at my notes and I have buffered enough times. We're just going to stop with trying to do that at the moment. I am going to swoop. And I think it's time for me to say we need to go through the bill. We need to look at it. ICE has just been expanded. I'm not even focusing on the cuts that we are going to see because the real danger is who gravitates to becoming an ICE agent and what ICE is doing. With that, I'm going to say know your rights. Absolutely know your rights. Read up on them. Um, Feel free to drop your favorite sources in the comments. I did try to find some for this because at the front end, while they do not necessarily have to give their name or their badge number because they are undercover, which is their claim when they're showing up in um, video game cosplay with the masks up and everything. But in this country at this time, we still have due process. Supreme Court has not overturned that yet. We still have due process. So you can still say, I want an attorney. I want an attorney. I want an attorney. If they approach, that's the only thing you know. Are they are kidnapping people. That's just how it's happening right now. I have seen, I would be curious if you know and trust your local police officers, feel free to give them a call because sometimes I have seen on social media that de-escalate the situation, which is a weird sentence for me to even think about in this. Know your rights. ICE has just expanded, and this administration has made it very, very clear that they don't give a flying flapdoodle what's in the Constitution. They aren't going to follow it. They aren't going to follow their oath. So that's where we're at. If we know that, we can plan for that. Doesn't make it any less scary, but we can plan for that. I am going to go ahead and swoop, try and sum up my final thoughts for the evening, and then and then apparently say goodnight because my brain has just been on loop with buffering, and that is my cue to swoop, wrap up, say goodnight. I need to find a swoop. There's the swoop. Okay. So with all of that, what can we do? We can read about this bill. We can understand that laws are always and forever changing in this country. Anything they say is permanent. Well, it's not an amendment to the Constitution yet, and it hasn't been ratified by the states yet, which means it's not. We can change it. So please keep that in mind, especially when you get overwhelmed, especially when it's all despair in the news. Keep in mind that we have made some real bad decisions in the past in this country and we fixed them and we are there again. Um it's gonna we're gonna see some really dark times, I think, because when we're looking at these tragedies and you know that they've just slashed a bunch of FEMA cuts and they've just slashed a bunch of FEMA funding, I worry. I worry about that. But we have options. And oh, are you worried about the Supreme Court? Well, guess what? As of 2023, the Supreme Court finally adopted a code of ethics, which several of them seem not to have followed. Now, it doesn't seem real clear what the follow up to that is, but it does seem, from everything I looked at today, that the House of Representatives is the body that can be contacted to try to change these things. So, um, contact your representatives, let them know because a lot of what happens with the Supreme Court, like their lifetime appointments, we can't impeach them, all of that. Guys, it's just tradition. It's not actually in the Constitution. It's just because it happened once and nobody changed it. So, guess what? We can change it by contacting our House of Representatives. Yes, dad says this when it comes to ICE, if we see something happening, document it, call the local police and call the local media. Absolutely. And if you've got other YouTubers that you follow, send it to their team too. Send it to their team too, especially if they're big like Under the Desk News or Phil DeFranco. These are two of my favorites. But if they're big like that, Send it to their team too. They might not get back to you. They may already know. But in case they don't, that is how you get more eyes on it. Right there. See something, say something, document, call the police. And call your local media, because what have we learned from all of these trials, everything? That if we get more eyes on this, it makes it harder for them to do it. It's why they're doing this. It's why they tried to push through the bill at 3 a.m. so that nobody would see it, so that you could just wake up and have it be done. Don't let them do that. Um, and if you want to get real petty, go follow Cats on a Couch. Cats on a Couch. It is warm. I got mad. I stopped being able to speak properly, apparently. Um, Final thoughts before we take a little vacation next week are this. First of all, stick together. Mostly we want the same things. I think all of us want the same things, and there's more of us than there are of them. It's why they get so scared. It's why they're trying to run all the legacy media into talking about one thing. Because when we talk with each other, we keep each other informed. We buoy each other up, and we humans can bridge that divide, right? The oligarchs love this. I don't speak to liberals. I don't speak to MAGA. I don't speak to progressives. They love that. They absolutely love that. Because if we're not talking to each other, they can, if we're just fighting amongst ourselves and we are not sharing information, then they win. So let's share information. Let's talk to each other. Let's assume that all of us really want the same thing. And let us not, if we can, I mean, it's one thing if somebody owns that they are pro cruelty and all of that, then you can match energy with energy as far as that goes. You can, if they announce that they're going to be a dick, you can say, great, you're being a dick. But there's a lot of good people who I think voted in a way that I wouldn't have chosen, not because they don't ultimately want the same things that I want for friends, family, and neighbors, but because they don't, they were given bad facts. They were sold a tale of things that aren't happening. They were lied to. And one by one, a lot of them are waking up. So let's build community, because community is how we're going to get through this. And community is how we stay informed. So with that, where is that? I gotta find this, and we're gonna go back to it while I am finding this. Hi, welcome. If you're new here and you're hanging out with me and you like my random soapbox moments and you like politics, pop culture, and court, because that's what I'm interested in, that's what we talk about here. Go ahead and do all the YouTubey things, do the liking, subscribing, share it, all that stuff. Make the algorithm happy, and welcome, because the bigger that I can make this, the bigger we have our community, and we just have way more options for fun as we go through this. Okay. The big bill is too big for a lot of us to be able to read. So, before I let you go tonight, here's the game that we are going to play together. All right? We're going to help each other out. We're going to help each other get informed. We are, and then when we meet again, we can talk about it. So, what we are going to do is we are going to pick a number from 1 to 1,000. We are going to read that page. We are going to glean what we can glean from it. We are going to ask our friends, colleagues, If you happen to know a constitutional law scholar, maybe call them in. We're going to go through that. We are going to leave that page in the comments here so that when we meet again, we can go through that set of pages. Are we gamifying learning about this ridiculous, giant, stupid and cruel bill? Yeah. Yeah, cuz this is Ray Bradbury didn't even know what sort of ridiculous shit show we were going to get into, and here we are. So, are we going to gamify it? Yes. Why are we going to do that? So that I stay sane and you do too. That's why. So, we're going to gamify this. We're going to talk about it, and that's what we're going to do. Um, thank you for joining me here. Thank you for hanging out with us. I'm ah no whoa. Hi guys, I'm fighting with technology. How's your evening going? I've been fighting with literally every inanimate object in my world. It's hot. Everything is having a moment. So, um, dad says it's the lesser evil conundrum we have all faced for too many election cycles. Yeah, I'm over that. I'm over that. You know what? Everything is being burned to the ground. Everything is being broken. So guess what? We're gonna rebuild it. Stop with the lesser of two evils. We're gonna talk to people. We're gonna know who our representatives are. And when it comes to this bill, you know what? If we have to keep going and gamify voting, let's do it. Let's do it. If it's gonna make the learning part of it fun for us, let's do it. Because you know what I would love? I would love in 10 years' time to not have to worry about this much and to not have to know this much about how my government works. But here we are. And the more we know, the better we can do. So, find your favorite, like number 1 to 1,000, read that page, drop that number in the comments when we meet again. Again, not next week. Me looking at a calendar. That's going to be not the 12th, but the next week. I'm terrible at calendar math. Anyway, we might meet up again before then, but honestly, guys, I'm working and I got family stuff. It's summer. It's going to take a while for us to get there. So, find the page 1 to 1,000, drop that in the comments, and when we meet up again, we drop Aurora? Reverse. Say that again, but maybe take a breath. Okay. Find the page between 1 and 1,000 in HR 1. I have linked that, the text of the bill or the link to the bill in the description of this video. We're going to find that. You read it, put in your question, put in your thought, just a general comment on that page. We're going to go ahead and do that. Spread this on socials too. Like, let's get everybody involved. Do you know Heather Cox Richardson? Tag her in that. Let's get her involved. Let's do this, guys. Dad says 726. Dad, so we will put that in the comments. So Dad's got 726. I haven't picked a number yet. We're going to do that. When we meet back up again, we're going to go through all these pages, and that's how we're going to get through this. Are we going to do all 1,000? Probably not. Well, we're going to have other stuff that we need to worry about, but we're going to keep coming back to this until we know what we need to know, and we're going to get our friends involved, and we're going to make this happen because being informed is the best way to be safe. So that's what we're going to do. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Thank you for being here. This is wonderful. Again, no stream next week. Follow me on the socials, the Aurora H. White. I am there. That's where you get the most updates. And if you're following me on Instagram, you also get dog pictures. Just saying. So, with that, I will see you guys. As always, wait, hang on. This has been a lot. Mom and Dad, we got 726 and 357. I'm going to remind you, put this in the comments as well, so that we can keep track of that. We will do that. hey, I got through this in an hour and I only had one squirrel moment. I will try and get this time stamped for you by next week, if not earlier, so that you can just zoom to the places that you want to see. And we have 870 total pages. 870 total pages. So a number between 1 and 870. There we go. That's shorter than I thought it was. Anyway, 1 to 870. I will put it in the comments again. I will also post it on the socials. We will see how far we can get that to go so that we can take a look at everything. Because that's where we got to stay informed. We got to stay informed, and if we can take it in tiny little bite-sized chunks so that we don't all lose our minds, and then we have the support of each other to get through that. That is what we are here for. So anyway, that is where we are at. Thank you all. Thanks for hanging with us. As always, guys, cheers. Cheers to everybody getting through this and taking care of each other. And as I always say, be well, do good, and remember to bark a lot. I will see you on the next one. Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Unfiltered Tea. Don't forget to hit that like button. If you have a story you want our unfiltered take on, go ahead and drop it in the comments, and we will see you next time.